Okay. For this meeting, I'm going to explain advanced comparative structure. Look at the naming, guys. Advanced means the level is already high. But before moving to the upper level, let's start with the basic level. Okay, you guys have already studied degree of comparison. Actually, when you were still in the 8th grade, junior high school. Okay, I'm going to explain the basic first. Yeah, this is the basic. I'm going to review the material first, and then I'll continue to the advanced comparative structure. Okay. There are 3 patterns for degree of comparison. This is the first. The first is positive degree. For positive degree, guys, we compare 2 items. And we use this pattern mainly for comparing 2 items which have the same quality. Look at the example. Look at the first example. I am as tall as Mr. Sony is. But usually the verb is omitted. So I am as tall as Mr. Sony. That's it. Have a look. There are 2 items, I and Mr. Sony. What is the quality? Tall. Yeah, we compare our height, and our height is the same. Can we use positive degree for 2 items which are different? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yeah, look at the second example. My wife is not as tall as I. My wife is not as tall as I. It means she is shorter, I'm taller. We can still use the pattern for 2 items which are different, but put the sentence into negative. Now, let's continue to comparative degree. Comparative degree is also used to compare 2 items. Okay. However, guys, comparative degree is divided into 2 patterns. Look at A, the first. We use this pattern, the first pattern, to compare 2 items, but the adjective used is only 1 syllable. Look at the adjective used. Tall. It's 1 syllable, right? That's why we use this pattern. I am taller than she. I am taller than she. Tall is 1 syllable, that's why we use ER. And then we use than to compare. B, this pattern is used to compare 2 items, but the adjective used is more than 1 syllable. Look at the adjective used. Expensive, 3 syllables. That's why we use more. The result becomes, this bag is more expensive than mine. We do not use ER with expensive because it's 3 syllables. We do not use more with tall because tall is 1 syllable. Any question for positive and comparative degree? None? Okay. I'll continue. The last pattern for degree of comparison is called superlative degree. Look at the word superlative. Super means superior, the highest level. When we want to use superlative degree, we have to compare minimum 3 items. If there are 2 items, you cannot use superlative degree. You have to use comparative or positive. If there are 3 items, we can use superlative. Okay, again, the pattern is divided into 2, depends on the syllable of the adjective used. Let's start from the first, A. Yeah, this pattern is used if the adjective is only one syllable. Look at the result. I am the tallest in my family. I am the tallest in my family. The is used, and then look at the adjective tall, one syllable. That's why we use est. It becomes the tallest. But B, this pattern is used if the adjective is more than one syllable. Look at the result. This bag is the most expensive in the store. Expensive is 3 syllables. That's why we use the most. Okay. You cannot use the most with tall because it's 1 syllable. You cannot est with expensive because it's 3 syllables. That's degree of comparison, the basic level of comparison. Any question, guys?
Clear enough, sir.
Clear enough. Okay. Guys, if you want to screenshot, let's say you cannot write fast, it's okay, but later on, please write it down on the notebook. Okay, it is okay to screenshot, however, later write it down. It's different when you study from a book and from a screenshot. Okay, sure. Vincent. Fine. You have already got the basic. Now, let's continue to this one, guys. The exception. For adjectives which end with YLEOWERET, even though it has more than 1 syllables, you have to use ER and EST. Okay, look at the first example. Pretty. 2 syllables, right? If it's 2 syllables, we have to use more. Or we have to use the most if it's superlative. But for pretty, because the adjective ends in Y, we do not use more, we do not use the most. Instead, we use ER and EST. So pretty becomes prettier and prettiest. The same thing happens to simple. Simple, 2 syllables. We should have used more or the most, but the ending is LE. That's why it becomes simpler and simplest. Narrow is also the same. Narrow, 2 syllables, but we do not use more or the most. We use ER and EST. It becomes narrower and narrowest. Clever, 2 syllables as well, but the ending is ER. That's why it becomes cleverer and cleverest. The last is quiet. It's 2 syllables as well. We do not use more or the most, though. Yeah, we use ER. It becomes quieter, and EST, quietest, because the ending of the adjective is ET. That's the exception. Any question, guys? None? Okay. Now, let's continue to the advanced comparative structure. This is the first pattern. Yeah? It's called parallel increase. Parallel means connected. Yeah, if you study physics, you will study electricity, right? And of course, you know that parallel is often used. Seri is also used. Okay. Parallel increase is used to compare 2 items, 2 things, and they are related. And when one changes, the other changes. They change together. Because they are related, when one changes, the other also changes. That's parallel increase. This is the pattern, guys. The comparative, subject, verb. The comparative, subject, verb. Now look at the example. Wait. The earlier we leave, comma, the sooner we arrive. This is the comparative. We is subject, leave is the verb. The sooner, that's the comparative, and then we subject, arrive, verb. That's the example, guys. Any question? In Indonesian, it means semakin comma semakin. That's the meaning. Okay, now let's continue to the second pattern. The second pattern is actually the shorter version of the first pattern. It becomes the comparative, the noun. The noun is actually the subject, yeah? And the comparative, the noun, the subject as well. In other words, we do not use the verb any longer. Okay, now I'll give you an example. The better, wait, the better the material, the materials are, comma, the more expensive the product is. Have a look. The better is the comparative. The materials is the subject, are is the verb. The more expensive is the comparative. The product is the subject, is the verb. Actually, guys, the example I give you is the example using the first pattern, right? Because you can find subject verb after the comparative. It means the example I have just given you uses the first pattern. However, from this example, it can be changed into the shorter version, the second pattern. It becomes the better the materials, comma, the more expensive the product. Have a look. I do not use the verb anymore, right? Just the noun, just the noun. The verb are and is are omitted. This is the second pattern. Any question? Remember, yeah, for the second pattern we do not use the verb any longer. There is a note that the second pattern can only be used if the subject is the noun. Now look at the first example. The earlier we leave, the sooner we arrive. Can you use the second pattern? cannot, because the subject is we, not the noun. Yeah, that's the criteria, so keep it in mind, guys. Any question? Okay, if there is no question, I'll give you the last pattern. The last pattern is actually the shorter version of the second pattern. It's even shorter. It becomes the comparative, comma, the comparative. That's it. Okay, have a look at this one. This example is taken from the second example. The example of the second pattern, yeah. From this example, the better the materials, the more expensive the product, it becomes this. What you have to do is to delete the noun. There you go. That's it. That's the result. The better, the more expensive. Semakin bagus, semakin mahal. That's the meaning. Okay, that's how you do it. Yeah, we delete the noun and the noun. Any question for parallel increase, guys? I give you 1 minute to complete the note. Okay. Now I'll continue to the second pattern. This is called gradual increase. Look at the name, gradual. Gradual means slowly changes. Okay, it means this pattern is used for something that keeps changing. Yeah, something keeps changing slowly over time. That's the function. So when you find something which changes slowly over time, you can use this pattern. Okay, what is the pattern? The pattern is subject, verb, comparative, and comparative. That's the pattern. I'll give you the example. I am getting fatter and fatter. Okay, fat is one syllable, that's why we use ER. I'll give you another example using more than one syllable adjective. Bitcoin is becoming more and more expensive. More and more. Why do we use more and more? Because it's expensive. 3-syllable adjective. Any question for number 2? Gradual increase. There's only one pattern. It's shorter than the parallel increase. Okay, I give you 1 minute to write down. Now let's continue to number 3. Number 3 is as and such. Let's start from the first, as. As is also used for comparing. Okay, comparing two items. The pattern is subject, verb, adjective. Sorry, I skipped the conjunction. Yeah, as, and then adjective, noun, as, blah blah blah. Okay, the items compared are two: the reality and someone's thought, usually. Okay. Okay, that's the pattern. Let's take a look at the example. She is as. I'll use diligent. Let's say she is a student. That's the noun. As I thought. I have an opinion that she is a diligent student, and in reality she is a diligent student, so it's the same as what I thought. Okay, have a look. This is the result. Diligent, a student, as I thought. I want you guys to be careful with this article. Yeah, I put the article there. What if the example is plural? Yeah, the subject is plural. What is the result? This is the result. We. Sorry, I changed the subject into they. Are as diligent. We don't use a any longer because the subject is plural. It means we also have to put the noun into plural. It becomes students, as I believe. Have a look. That's the pattern. Don't forget the S because the subject is plural. Any question for S? Okay, S here means seperti. Okay, if there is no question, I'll continue to such. Such actually has the same pattern as S. Isn't the pattern the same? It's the same, right? I just change as into such. Look at the example. She is, I use the same example here. She is such a diligent student as I thought. Pay attention, guys. Where do I put the article? Before the adjective. That's for such. Yeah, be careful with the position of the article. Students usually make a mistake here. What if I put the sentence into plural? This is the result. They are such diligent students as I thought. Have a look. The result is the same as S, yeah? I just change as into such. That's it. The meaning is the same. Seperti. Any question, guys? For as and such. None? Okay, I'll give you the second pattern for such. We use subject, verb, such, adjective, noun, but we use that here, and then blah blah blah. We use such, that. In between, it's the same, you have to use adjective, noun. The result. She is such a diligent student that teachers like her. Have a look. I use such and that. Because this is such, you have to put the article here. What is the meaning of that? Jadi, look at the meaning. Dia anak yang rajin, jadi guru-guru suka sama dia. That's the meaning. But above, the meaning is dia anak yang rajin seperti yang saya kira. Seperti. Yes. Okay, this is such. There are two patterns. Any question, guys? I'll give you the example of the plural subject. Yeah, they are such diligent students that teachers like them. Such is used with that. That's the adjective and the noun. Because the subject is many, plural, the noun should be in plural form as well. That is all. Question, guys? None? Okay, if there is no question, I'll give you 1 minute to complete your note. Okay, I will continue to the fourth. Yep, any question? Okay, for number 4, before I continue the explanation, have a look at this example, guys. The comparative. Okay, this is the standard comparison. The basic one. Have a look that there are 2 items, yeah, compared. And there is only one quality which is compared, the height of the 2 items. I repeat, for the standard comparison, there are 2 items compared, yeah, 2 items, I and my wife, and there is only one quality, tall. But for number 4, there is only one item described, but there are 2 qualities compared. Okay, hopefully you understand the explanation. Let's start with the first pattern. The first pattern is subject, verb, more, adjective, than, adjective. There are 2 qualities compared, right? Sorry. There are 2 qualities compared. This is the first, and this is the second. We use more than. Look at the example. I'd like to describe a girl. This girl, she is more pretty than cute. Have a look. I use the pattern more and then. Pretty is the first adjective, cute is the second adjective, the second quality. Look at the meaning. Dia lebih ke cantik daripada cute. What you need to keep in mind is that, have a look. Look at the word pretty. The ending is Y, right? And I have already told you guys that adjectives ending in Y should be prettier with ER. But here, it doesn't become prettier. We still have to use more. Yeah, pay attention to this. For number 4, comparing 2 adjectives, we do not use the rule that I have explained before. Okay, because the pattern is more adjective than adjective. We don't use ER. Second pattern. The subject is subject. The pattern is subject and then verb and then adjective and then rather than and second adjective. This is the pattern we use. This is the first adjective, this is the second adjective. Now let's change the example above using the second pattern. The subject is the same, she, the verb is the same, is, What is the first adjective? The blue one? Pretty, right? Let's use it. And then we use rather than. And then we use the second adjective, cute. That's it. What about the meaning, guys? The meaning is the same as above. Ya, it's exactly the same. Dia lebih kecantik daripada cute. The last pattern. Subject, verb, not so much, adjective, as adjective. But be careful, guys. The first adjective used is the second adjective, and the second adjective is taken from the first adjective. Now the sentence becomes, she is not so much. What is green? Green is cute, right? Okay, let's take it there. Then we use as. What is blue? Blue is pretty. That is the result. We use this pattern, not so much as. We use green first, cute, and then we use blue, pretty. Okay, it's swept, guys. What about the meaning? Before, the meaning becomes dia lebih kecantik daripada cute. For this one, it means dia enggak cute, tapi cantik. Dia enggak cute, tapi cantik. That's the meaning. Okay, this is the last pattern. There are 3 patterns. Any question?